June 12th, 2009. Conakry. Check this one out. 22 years old. Absolutely stunning. Says she wants to go to Disney World, but she has a one-way ticket to New York. Why do they always say that they're going to Disney World? You'd think they just won the Super Bowl or something. Hamilton Scott, Alex's partner on the visa line at the U.S. Embassy in Conakry, Guinea, leaned around the narrow partition that separated their interview booths, dangling an application for a tourist visa. The woman in the visa photo clipped to the upper corner bore a striking resemblance to the supermodel Naomi Campbell. It was admittedly unprofessional, but Alex understood what Ham was doing. Visa line work could be excruciatingly monotonous, and in a third-world hellhole like Conakry, the applicants would say or do just about anything to gain entrance to the United States. The vice consuls often resorted to black humor or informal games like visa applicant bingo as a way to keep themselves sane. "Do you think she'd sleep with me for a visa?" Ham asked with mock seriousness. 22? Isn't she a little old for you, Ham? Ordinarily, yes, but this girl's exceptional, and there's no way she qualifies as a tourist. Qualify was a kind of code word in visa work. The law said that anyone applying for a visa to the United States had to prove that he or she was not secretly intending to emigrate. The challenge for the applicants was demonstrating that they had strong and compelling reasons to come back after visiting the U.S. In practice, this meant money. Rich people were qualified for visas. Poor people struggled to overcome the supposition that they were economic migrants. In the euphemistic language of government, they were unqualified. Ham turned back to the applicant and explained to Ms. Hadja Malabo that, sadly, she lacked the qualifications for an American visa and should consider reapplying when her situation had changed. Ham's French was flawless, a consequence of 4 years at a boarding school in Switzerland. He was polite, but Alex thought somewhat brusque in rejecting Ms. Malabo's application. Ham leaned back around the partition. "I'm almost through my stack, only 4 or 5 left. How you doing?" Alex looked at the pile of application packages still in front of him. There were at least 20 left. He and Ham were the only 2 interviewing officers at post, which meant about 50 non-immigrant visa interviews a day for each of them. Ham had made his decisions with a brutal efficiency. Alex took more time with each applicant. Most would come away empty-handed, but he wanted to give each person who came into his interview booth the sense that they had had a chance to make their case, and that the consul had at least given them a fair shot. For most Guineans, their brief moment with a consular officer was as close as they were going to get to the United States. "I still have a few to go," Alex admitted. "Give me some of yours." Ham reached over and took nearly half of the stack out of Alex's inbox. "If we can finish in less than an hour, we can grab a sandwich and a beer at Harry's bar. My treat. Got to meet with the ambassador after lunch to talk over the report on human trafficking I did for him last week." Ham paused for a moment. "I'm sorry, Alex," he said carefully. "You know I don't mean to rub that in." The ambassador had been giving Ham increasingly significant reporting responsibilities, something relatively rare for a first-tour vice consul, but understandable, given that Ham's full name was Hamilton Wendell Scott III, and that both 1 and 2 had been ambassadors in half a dozen countries. Ham was just punching his consular ticket in a hardship post, something all junior officers had to do, before heading off for the salons and soirees of Western Europe and a diplomatic career with an unlimited upside. No doubt Ham's father considered his son's stint in Conakry a character-building experience. He could bore future generations of American diplomats with war stories about life on the visa line in Guinea when he was ambassador to Sweden or Hungary or some such place. For Alex, however, stamping passports looked like a permanent fixture of the next 30 years of his career. There wasn't much else a Foreign Service officer who had lost his security clearances was good for. The contrast between Ham's upward trajectory and the flat, featureless plane that represented Alex's career prospects could not have been any starker. Both knew it, and both generally avoided talking about it. Having crossed the invisible line, however, Ham seemed determined to charge forward. "Have you given any more thought to the Centrex offer, Alex?" he asked with characteristic directness. "I've written 2 letters.